Coming soon to own on
YouTube
video
and Twitch.
DVD.
Hey, this one gonna make a lot of niggas mad. This one gonna make a lot of niggas mad. Everyone that could kill Superman. Now, there's definitely a bunch of like higher power scaled villains and like heroes that could, if they would. If I can think off the top of my head, Batman, Lex Luthor, Shazam, uh, Darkseid. Those are just some of the people I think like that could, obviously Batman, Lex Luthor, they're gonna have to use the kryptonite, but besides that, like they very much could just kill him.
Probable, but he's not. There are plenty of characters who could destroy him in a fight, and today we're ranking them all from the hardest fights to the easiest kills. And trust me, the final one will leave you speechless. But one being on the
Alright,
list
bet.
doesn't just kill Superman, they completely rewrite what it means to face the Man of Steel. Starting at number 1, we have Batman. Now, I know what you're thinking. Batman doesn't have superpowers, he can't fly or shoot lasers from his eyes, but that's exactly what makes him so dangerous to Superman. Batman has something that most of Superman's enemies don't have. A brain that works like a
Intelligence.
chess grandmaster playing 10 moves ahead. When Batman knows he's going up against Superman, he doesn't just prepare for a fight, he crafts a complete strategy. In The Dark Knight Returns, Batman creates a giant mech suit specifically designed to fight Superman.
You're not even close to fully recovered.
But the real genius isn't the suit itself, it's how Batman uses it. He lures Superman into a specific location, positions Green Arrow as backup with kryptonite arrows, and even fakes his own death to gain a psychological advantage.
Now!
Just like that.
Bruce!
That's not just preparation, that's tactical mastery. In Batman Endgame, Batman shows just how far his anti-Superman planning goes. He creates a detailed analysis of Superman's combat patterns, including reaction times, preferred attack angles, and even emotional triggers. Batman doesn't just study Superman's powers, he studies Superman's psychology.
Superman.
He knows everything about Superman.
No, but I've researched him. His power levels are...
Not gonna be a problem.
He knows that Superman will always try to minimize collateral damage, and Batman designs his strategies around exploiting that moral constraint. The most terrifying example is Tower of Babel. Batman had already created a complete plan to neutralize Superman using red kryptonite that would make him paranoid and unstable. The plan wasn't just about physical defeat, it was about turning Superman's greatest strength, his trust in others, into his weakness. When Ra's al Ghul stole and implemented these plans, Superman nearly destroyed everything he cared about. But here's what makes Batman's preparation truly dangerous. He doesn't just plan for the Superman he knows today, he plans for the Superman who might lose control tomorrow.
That's exactly what he said. He plans for the worst of the worst versions, the strongest version of Superman there is. He doesn't plan for if the nice guy.
Batman has contingencies for evil Superman, mind-controlled Superman, and even Superman who simply made a mistake that needs to be corrected. He's not just
Yup.
preparing to fight an enemy, he's preparing to stop a friend who's become a threat. Batman's intelligence network also gives him advantages that raw power just cannot match. He knows about every piece of kryptonite on Earth, every scientist working on anti-Kryptonian research, and every potential weakness in Superman's support structure. While other enemies might stumble onto ways to hurt Superman, Batman systematically catalogs and weaponizes every vulnerability. And then there's the kryptonite factor that transforms Batman from just another human into a genuine threat to the most powerful being on Earth. Batman doesn't just keep kryptonite as a last resort, he's integrated it into his entire anti-Superman strategy. In Superman/Batman Public Enemies, Batman reveals he has multiple types of kryptonite stored in different locations,
Nigga
each
got
with a
all of them.
specific purpose. Green kryptonite for immediate weakening, red kryptonite for psychological manipulation, and gold kryptonite as the ultimate nuclear option. What's truly terrifying is how Batman deploys kryptonite. In Hush, he creates a kryptonite ring that he wears constantly just in case. But Batman takes it further. He develops kryptonite gas that can be dispersed through ventilation systems, kryptonite dust that can be hidden in everyday objects, and even kryptonite-laced batarangs for ranged attacks. The psychological impact of Batman's kryptonite usage is just as important as the physical effects. Superman knows that Batman has it, and that knowledge affects how Superman approaches any potential conflict. There's always that moment of hesitation, that split second where Superman has to consider whether
A random question. Going back to Green Lantern, could Green Lantern technically replicate kryptonite and affect Superman? Just a genuine question.
Whether Batman is reaching for a normal weapon or something that could literally kill him. Batman's access to different kryptonite variants makes him unpredictable in ways that other kryptonite wielding enemies aren't. Lex Luthor might use kryptonite as a power source or a weapon, but Batman uses it as a surgical tool. He knows exactly how much exposure will weaken Superman without killing him, how to combine different types for specific effects, and how to time the exposure for maximum tactical advantage. In Batman vs Superman Dawn of Justice, yes, even the movie gets this right, Batman doesn't just throw kryptonite at Superman and hope for the best. He creates an environment where every surface, every breath of air, and every moment of the fight exposes Superman to kryptonite.
Yep.
It's not just about having the weapon, it's about controlling the entire battlefield. The combination of Batman's strategic mind and his access to kryptonite creates a scenario where Superman's greatest advantages become meaningless. Super speed doesn't help when you're already weakened. Super strength doesn't matter when your opponent has planned for exactly how you'll use it. And invulnerability becomes a liability when the environment itself is designed to strip it away. At number 2, we have Doomsday. And this creature represents evolution taken to its most terrifying extreme.
I'm not gonna lie. I feel like Doomsday is a like either or. If you obviously the comic book version, but I feel like a lot of times Superman gets his ass whooped by Doomsday because he holds back a lot, trying not to cause casualties. But when Superman really says fuck it, he beats Doomsday's ass.
Doomsday doesn't just get stronger, it becomes immune to whatever killed it before. Every death makes it more dangerous, and it's already died thousands of times. The key thing about Doomsday's evolution is that it's not random. It's specifically designed to counter whatever destroyed it. When Superman killed Doomsday with brute force in their first encounter, Doomsday came back with enhanced durability and new offensive capabilities. When the Justice League tried to contain it with energy attacks, it developed energy absorption capabilities. It's like fighting an opponent that automatically downloads patches for every exploit you use. What makes this evolution truly terrifying is its permanence. Doomsday doesn't lose its old immunities when it gains new ones. The version of Doomsday that Superman faces today is immune to every single tactic that's ever been used against it successfully. Heat vision, cold breath, physical force, energy manipulation, all useless because Doomsday has already adapted to counter them. But Doomsday isn't just dangerous because of its evolutionary abilities. It's also a perfect physical match for Superman, which makes their battles absolutely devastating. Doomsday was specifically created to be a killing machine, and its fighting style reflects that purpose. While Superman fights with technique and restraint, Doomsday fights with pure murderous intent.
Superman is Superman, and I will kill you.
Why?
It's what I am. I don't care why.
Every attack is designed to kill, every movement is calculated to cause maximum damage, and there's no hesitation or mercy in its assault. The original Death of Superman fight showcases this perfectly. Superman had to abandon every rule he normally follows about minimizing collateral damage and avoiding lethal force. Against Doomsday, holding back meant death, not just for Superman.
See, like I didn't know he was gonna do like that version of Doomsday, but when he puts it like that, yeah, Superman one-on-one, he might be fucked.
But for everyone Doomsday would kill afterward. The fact that Superman still barely managed to stop it, and only through mutual destruction, shows just how perfectly matched they are. Doomsday's endurance is unlimited in a way that Superman's isn't. Superman can fight for extended periods, but he does eventually tire. Doomsday never gets tired, never slows down, and never stops coming. In a prolonged battle, that stamina advantage becomes increasingly important. Superman has to fight perfectly for the entire encounter, while Doomsday only needs to land one killing blow. The psychological impact of fighting Doomsday can't be ignored either. Superman knows that even if he wins, Doomsday will eventually return stronger than before. Every victory is temporary, while every defeat could be permanent. That's the kind of knowledge that weighs on a hero's mind, especially when innocent lives are at stake. This creature that learns from death itself leads us to someone who operates on an even more terrifying scale of cosmic power. Coming in at number 3 is Darkseid, the ruler of Apokolips who combines godlike cosmic power with the strategic mind of someone who's conquered entire galaxies. His Omega Beams alone make him a unique threat, but it's how he uses his mental manipulation abilities that makes him truly dangerous.
They can do that? They're locked on us.
The Omega Beams aren't just powerful energy attacks, they're reality-warping weapons that can track their targets across dimensions. These beams can disintegrate matter, transport victims through time and space, or trap them in alternate realities. Superman's speed advantage means nothing when the weapons chasing him can literally bend space to follow him around corners. But what makes Darkseid's Omega Beams truly terrifying is their precision. He can calibrate them to cause exactly the effect he wants: instant death, slow torture, or something far worse. In Final Crisis, Darkseid uses his Omega Beams to trap Superman in a series of increasingly degrading realities, each one designed to break down his psychological defenses while keeping him physically helpless. Darkseid's physical strength matches Superman's, but his cosmic awareness gives him knowledge that Superman can't possibly possess. He understands forces that operate on universal scales, can perceive threats across multiple dimensions simultaneously, and has access to technology that even makes Kryptonian science look primitive. What makes Darkseid
Alright, I'm gonna ask, who was y'all favorite big bad between Darkseid and or Thanos? I know Darkseid was first, but Darkseid or Thanos? Me personally, I'm going with Darkseid.
particularly dangerous is how he weaves his mind control abilities into his physical attacks. He doesn't just try to overpower Superman, he tries to corrupt him. In Superman the Animated Series, Darkseid successfully brainwashes Superman into believing he's Darkseid's loyal son.
You've done well, son.
Thank you, Father. As you say, it is our destiny to bring peace and order to the universe.
This isn't just mind control, it's a complete rewiring of Superman's identity and moral foundation. The anti-life equation represents
brainwash that
Darkseid's
nigga.
ultimate goal and Superman's ultimate nightmare.
What is your will, my lord?
As ever, to search for the anti-life equation, that I may bring order to this aimless universe.
This mathematical formula would give Darkseid complete control over all life in the universe, turning every living being into an extension of his will. If Darkseid ever obtained the complete equation, Superman wouldn't just be fighting for his own life, he'd be fighting for the free will of every person who's ever existed. Darkseid's ability
Damn.
to turn Superman's allies against him creates tactical nightmares that raw power cannot solve. When Superman has to fight Wonder Woman, the Flash, and Green Lantern simultaneously because they're all under Darkseid's control, his usual advantages become liabilities. His reluctance to seriously hurt his friends gives Darkseid multiple ways to exploit his psychological weaknesses. The sheer scope of resources that Darkseid can deploy is staggering. Apocalypse produces an endless stream of parademons, advanced technology, and fanatically loyal servants. Fighting Darkseid isn't a one-on-one battle. It's one person against the military might of an entire planet-sized war machine. But cosmic-level threats like Darkseid pale in comparison to our next enemy, who brings something that makes Superman genuinely uncomfortable.
I told you. Shazam, he could beat the fuck out of Superman. I'm just keeping it a buck. He's done it before. He like that Injustice version where he lasered through his head. That had done terrible PR. That was terrible PR for my boy Shazam. I'm not gonna lie.
At number 4, we have Captain Marvel, better known as Shazam, and he represents Superman's greatest vulnerability
Well, which one y'all prefer? Yeah, y'all call him Shazam or Captain Marvel? I call him Shazam.
made manifest
personally.
magic. When Shazam channels the power of ancient gods, he's wielding forces that bypass Superman's defenses entirely. Superman's vulnerability to magic isn't just a minor weakness, it's a complete gap in his otherwise impenetrable defenses. When Shazam calls down magical lightning, Superman feels it the way a normal person would feel a lightning strike.
Shazam!
His invulnerability, his primary advantage in almost every fight, simply doesn't apply to magical attacks. In Kingdom Come, the conflict between Superman and Shazam demonstrates just how dangerous this magical vulnerability can be. Shazam's lightning doesn't just hurt Superman, it can potentially kill him. The fight ends with catastrophic results because Superman has no way to simply tank magical damage the way he tanks everything else.
Magic, indeed. You are my physical match, but I sense one critical difference: a vulnerability to magic.
Shazam's magical abilities extend far beyond just lightning strikes. He can alter reality on a local scale, manipulate probability, and access mystical knowledge that gives him insights into supernatural
Really? I didn't know that.
forces. While Superman relies on physical senses and scientific understanding, Shazam can literally see and manipulate spiritual energies. The wisdom of Solomon gives Shazam tactical advantages that complement his magical powers perfectly. He has access to the strategic knowledge of one of history's greatest rulers, combined with the power to implement those strategies through supernatural means. This isn't just raw intelligence, it's divine wisdom specifically designed to guide the use of godlike power. But what makes Shazam truly unpredictable is how his magical versatility combines with his useful perspective to create fighting strategies that Superman can't anticipate. Billy Batson's mind inside Shazam's body creates a unique approach to using magical power. Adult magic users often follow established patterns and traditional approaches. Shazam might try combinations of abilities that more experienced magic users wouldn't consider, simply because he doesn't know they're not supposed to work together. This unpredictability extends to his moral decision making as well. Superman has a very developed code based on years of difficult choices and their consequences. Shazam has the moral clarity of youth, which sometimes leads to more decisive action. He might be
Yep.
willing to use magical tactics that Superman would find ethically questionable, but not out of evil intent, but because he hasn't yet learned to see the potential dangers.
And we certainly don't endorse supervillains for the presidency.
Now, wait a minute. I never said that I was endorsing Luthor. Just that I think it's great that someone like him can change into a good guy. Well, maybe it is sometimes. Maybe people can change.
The combination of godlike magical power with creative, unpredictable applications makes Shazam one of the few opponents who can surprise Superman in ways that truly matter. In Justice League,
Shazam putting that belt
Shazam's
on niggas.
unconventional use of his powers catches even experienced heroes off guard, demonstrating how his unique perspective can turn familiar abilities into completely new threats. Shazam's enthusiasm and joy in battle also represent a psychological challenge for Superman. Most of Superman's serious enemies fight with anger, hatred, or cold calculation. Shazam fights like he's having fun, and that different emotional approach can be disorienting for opponents who expect more traditional psychological dynamics. Speaking of unpredictable approaches, our next entry takes human intellect and amplifies it through technology specifically designed to kill gods. At number 5, we have Lex Luthor in his power armor, representing the pinnacle of human genius.
Yeah, you can say that. That's fair. That's fair.
Focused entirely on the goal of Superman's destruction. When unlimited resources meet obsessive intelligence, the results are genuinely terrifying. Luthor's approach to the Superman problem is methodical and comprehensive. He doesn't just build weapons that are powerful, he builds weapons that are specifically calibrated to exploit Kryptonian physiology. His power suits incorporate kryptonite not just as a power source, but as a delivery system for precisely targeted attacks that affect Superman's cellular structure in ways that raw kryptonite exposure cannot match. In All-Star Superman, Luthor's power suit demonstrates the kind of technological sophistication that makes him dangerous. The suit doesn't just make him stronger, it gives him sensory capabilities that surpass Superman's, energy manipulation abilities that can counter Superman's powers.
Nah, that's crazy. Foot to the
And
face.
defensive systems that adapt to Superman's attacks in real time. It's not just armor, it's a complete technological ecosystem designed around fighting one specific opponent. But what makes Luthor's technology truly dangerous is how it's informed by his psychological understanding of Superman. He builds weapons that force Superman to make impossible choices, creates scenarios where Superman's moral code becomes a tactical disadvantage, and designs attacks that target Superman's relationships and responsibilities as much as his physical form.
Which is
Luthor's mech
crazy.
suits often incorporate stolen alien technology, reverse-engineered Kryptonian science, and innovations that push human technological development forward by decades. When he decides to build something to fight Superman, he's not limited by what's currently possible. He's only limited by what he can imagine and engineer. The suits are designed to learn and evolve during combat, much like Doomsday, but through technological rather than biological means. Each encounter with Superman provides data that Luthor uses to upgrade his systems, improve his tactics, and develop new capabilities. Fighting Luthor in a power suit is like facing an opponent who gets smarter and more dangerous with every exchange. What makes Luthor particularly insidious is how he uses his suit to level the playing field while maintaining his psychological advantages. Inside his armor, Luthor is physically Superman's equal, but he retains all of his intellectual and strategic advantages while gaining new ones.
Which
he
is
can
super
process
dangerous.
information faster, coordinate multiple attacks simultaneously, and execute complex tactics that would be impossible for an unenhanced human. The kryptonite weaponry integrated into Luthor's suits represents the marriage of human engineering with anti-Kryptonian science. He doesn't just expose Superman to kryptonite, he creates kryptonite-powered energy fields, kryptonite-based molecular disruptors, and kryptonite delivery systems that can affect Superman from multiple angles simultaneously. It's weaponized science fiction made real through obsessive genius. But even human intelligence enhanced by technology pales before the cosmic scale threats that can unmake entire realities. At number 6, we have the
Anti-Monitor. Wow, the Anti-Monitor is a crazy, like, demon. I'm surprised he's not, like, number 1. He could, like, rewrite history and just, like,
An entity that operates on such a massive scale that Superman's individual power level becomes almost irrelevant when faced with the capacity to destroy infinite universes. The Anti-Monitor's most terrifying ability is his power to convert positive matter into antimatter, which isn't just a weapon, it's an attack on the fundamental nature of Superman's existence. This process doesn't just kill, it retroactively erases, making it as if the victim never existed at all.
Because we were never alive. We've been erased from existence. Everything we've ever done, or thought, or said is gone forever.
Superman's greatest fear isn't death. It's the possibility that his absence might leave innocent people unprotected. The Anti-Monitor's antimatter conversion threatens to make both Superman and everyone he's ever saved disappear from history. During Crisis on Infinite Earths, the Anti-Monitor demonstrated the ability to coordinate attacks across multiple dimensions simultaneously. His shadow demons aren't just numerous, they're specifically designed to drain the life force of positive matter beings. A single shadow demon might not threaten Superman, but millions of them working in perfect coordination while reality itself is being rewritten around him creates tactical challenges that brute force just cannot solve. The Anti-Monitor's cosmic awareness allows him to perceive and attack from directions that don't exist in normal space-time. He can strike at Superman through dimensional rifts, temporal distortions, and reality warping effects that make conventional defense impossible. Superman's super senses are useless when the attack is coming from dimensions that don't have sensory analogs in normal reality. What makes the Anti-Monitor particularly dangerous is his ability to create pocket universes where he controls the fundamental laws of physics. Superman might enter a battle with all his usual advantages, only to discover that in the Anti-Monitor created reality, those advantages have been systematically removed or turned against him. The shadow demons under the Anti-Monitor's control represent a perfect counter to Superman's fighting style. They can phase through solid matter, drain energy from living beings, and adapt their tactics based on their opponent's abilities. They're not just soldiers, they're weapons specifically designed to counter the types of abilities that heroes like Superman possess. The Anti-Monitor's goal of universal destruction means that defeating him requires more than just winning a physical confrontation. Even if Superman could somehow match his power, the Anti-Monitor could simply retreat to another dimension and continue his campaign of universal destruction. The scope of his threat makes conventional victory conditions meaningless, but universal destroyers still follow certain patterns. Our next enemy represents something more insidious: intelligence that can predict and counter every possible move Superman.
Now, I know y'all heard James Gunn, he leaked, well, he didn't leak, he put out Superman 2 Man of Tomorrow 2027, and the cover was a picture of a brain. Some people are starting to say it's not going to be Brainiac, it's going to be Darkseid and stuff like that. I don't know, I think it's going to be Brainiac. Let me know how y'all feel about that.
And might make. Coming in at number 7 is Brainiac, a being whose 12th level intellect combined with technology from thousands of conquered worlds creates a strategic threat that attacks Superman's mind as much as his body. Brainiac's most dangerous capability is his ability to process and analyze information at superhuman speeds during combat.
Kryptonian.
He doesn't just fight Superman, he studies him in real time, analyzing combat patterns, physiological responses, and psychological reactions to develop increasingly effective attacks. By the end of any encounter with Brainiac, the android knows more about Superman's fighting style than Superman knows about his own instincts. The technology at Brainiac's disposal.
But to be fair, Superman does got a kind of like, I wouldn't say basic, but a simple fighting style. It's kind of like a, you know, but that's because of how strong he is. He really doesn't have to learn like techniques like karate, kung fu, jujitsu, boxing. He doesn't have to learn that stuff like that.
Includes city-shrinking rays that can trap entire populations in bottles, force field generators that can contain solar system level energy, and computational matrices that can predict probable outcomes for complex scenarios thousands of moves in advance. When Brainiac shrinks Kandor, he's not just conquering a city, he's demonstrating his ability to manipulate matter and energy on scales that make Superman's powers look limited. Brainiac's knowledge of Kryptonian science gives him advantages that other enemies don't possess. He was present during Krypton's destruction and has studied Kryptonian biology extensively. In Brainiac, Collector of Worlds, he reveals that he understands Superman's cellular structure well enough to create targeted attacks that affect Kryptonian physiology in ways that Superman himself don't understand. What makes Brainiac particularly dangerous is his patience and long-term thinking. He's willing to spend decades gathering data about Superman, setting up elaborate traps, and creating scenarios where Superman has no good options. While other enemies might be driven by emotion or immediate goals, Brainiac can execute plans that span centuries if necessary. Brainiac's strategic intelligence allows him to exploit Superman's psychological weaknesses with surgical precision. He creates scenarios where saving one group of innocent people requires abandoning another, where every choice Superman makes provides Brainiac with new data about his decision-making processes, and where Superman's moral code becomes a predictable limitation that can be exploited. The scope of Brainiac's operations means that fighting him isn't just about physical confrontation. He can coordinate attacks across multiple planets, manipulate entire civilizations, and create technological combinations that produce effects beyond what any individual individual component could achieve. Superman might think he's fighting one opponent, only to discover that he's actually fighting the accumulated knowledge and resources of thousands of conquered worlds.
Kryptonian trash, you have already failed. I am the knowledge and strength of 10,000 worlds. Neither you nor Metropolis will ever leave this ship.
Brainiac's ability to transfer his consciousness between different bodies and platforms means that defeating him physically doesn't necessarily end the threat. He can back up his consciousness, operate through multiple platforms simultaneously, and ensure his survival through technological means that don't rely on any single physical form. But even cosmic level intelligence has limits. Our final entry represents power that exists outside the normal.
Yep, I can see. Yep, Trigon. Trigon is. I don't know if he's confirmed supposed to be a representation of Satan, but he is a hell demon who's crazy strong.
Rules entirely. Finally, at number 8, we have Trigon, a demonic entity whose supernatural power operates according to rules that Superman is fundamentally unprepared to understand or counter. Trigon's reality warping abilities don't just change the environment, they rewrite the fundamental laws that govern Superman's existence. In dimensions where Trigon holds sway, Superman's powers might work differently, physics might follow different rules, and the moral absolutes that guide Superman's decisions might become meaningless concepts.
Maybe this will slow you down.
If we cannot stop this creature...
I know.
Fighting Trigon means fighting in an environment where Superman's greatest advantages can be systematically removed or turned against him. The demonic nature of Trigon's power gives him access to attacks that bypass Superman's physical defenses entirely. He can manipulate souls, alter destiny, and attack Superman on spiritual levels that no amount of physical training can prepare him for. When Trigon launches a spiritual assault, Superman's invulnerability becomes irrelevant because the attack isn't targeting his body, it's targeting his essence.
Soul.
Trigon's mastery of psychological warfare is enhanced by supernatural abilities in ways that make conventional mental defense useless. He can create alternate realities where Superman's failures have real consequences, implant memories of events that never happened but feel completely real, and force Superman to experience the suffering of every person he's ever failed to save simultaneously. What makes Trigon particularly insidious is his understanding of corruption and domination. He doesn't just want to defeat Superman, he wants to break him, corrupt him, and turn him into an agent of evil. The battle isn't just about who wins the fight, it's about whether Superman can maintain his identity and moral foundation when faced with temptations and torments designed by a being who has spent eons learning how to break heroes. Trigon can exploit Superman's relationships as weapons in ways that go beyond normal psychological manipulation. He can create false but convincing versions of people Superman cares about, show him visions of alternate futures where his heroic actions led to global catastrophe, and force him to make choices between saving his loved ones and saving the world. The interdimensional nature of Trigon's existence means he can attack from angles that don't exist in normal reality. He can open portals to hellish dimensions where different physical laws apply, summon armies of demons that exist partially outside normal space-time, and use magical attacks that arrive from directions that Superman's senses can't detect or predict. But perhaps most terrifying of all is how fighting Trigon can leave lasting damage even if Superman wins. The experience of battling pure supernatural evil, of having one's soul and moral foundation directly attacked by demonic forces, can leave psychological scars that affect how Superman approaches future challenges. Trigon understands that sometimes the most effective way to defeat a hero is to let them achieve victory while losing something essential about themselves in the process. The combination of reality warping power, spiritual attacks, and masterful psychological manipulation makes Trigon a threat that operates outside the normal parameters of superhero conflicts. Against most enemies, Superman can rely on his powers, his training, and his moral clarity. Against Trigon, all three of those advantages become potential vulnerabilities to be exploited by a being whose very existence challenges everything Superman believes about the nature of good and evil. Each of these 8 beings represent a different type of existential threat to Superman, from Batman's human intellect enhanced by preparation and kryptonite, to Trigon's supernatural power that attacks the very concept of heroism itself. What makes this list particularly sobering is how it demonstrates that Superman's greatest strength, his unwavering moral foundation, can become his greatest vulnerability when facing enemies who understand how to exploit it. The variety of threats also shows why Superman needs allies, backup plans, and constant vigilance. No single defense can protect against all these different types of attacks, and no amount of raw power can overcome opponents who attack from angles that pure strength can't counter. If you enjoyed this break,
now for real, that shit was a crazy list. There was a lot of picks I expected to be in here, but I didn't expect him to put Lex Luthor that high, but I can understand it, like over Shazam. But technically, like the weakness to magic, you could add Zatanna to the list. But let me know how y'all feel down below.
I'm not trying to score. Your heart's an open door. I got the key, I'm trying to keep composure and some more. I know you want some more. Oh, oh. Can your body hear me? Want you to feel me?